Hello, my fellow Full of the Samurai players. Zaript here. With the first of two games Bane sent me. It's his friendly match against Apollo, as I understand. It was best of three, but of three replays, he only got two saved. And I hope Apollo doesn't mind me casting these games. Because I don't even know what to do. If he does, probably I will have to put video down. Anyway, quite an interesting games with and there is some interesting veterans on the field which I want to talk about, and I kinda these two players play kinda on a level that we can all comprehend. For me, for example, sometimes it's very difficult to understand what's going on in the mind of Doug. But here it's a bit easier. It's a bit easier to see their mistakes. Not like they do that many of them, but they still do. So there is stuff to talk about. Because this mistakes they do is mistakes we all do all the time. Well, me for certain. So that's what I want to talk about, what I want to look at. And let me start with army composition of Bane, who brought a very cavalry-heavy army. He have 4 Yariki, level 5 each, 21 attack, 9 morale, 10 defense. He have Shogun Guard Cavalry level 6, look at this, 13 melee attack, and now he dismounted them to capture Sword Dodger, which usually I don't like when the strongest and the most important cavalry unit used to cap the Dodger, because generally you don't want to risk the horses. You want this unit to be ready to get in fight at any moment of time. But well, it's general's decision. Now let's see, 2 revolver cavalry, vanilla, gen, some mix between Bushido and common gen, up to stand and fight. For his infantry he have Yarikachi level 4, Red Bears vanilla, 2 vanilla Black Tortoise forces, and Red Bears 150 range. Now let's take a look at Apollo's army. Apollo have 4 Yariki, one of them vanilla, one of them level 7 and have a name Sabre. I hope he doesn't use them on tournaments. Other Sabre Yariki level 6. But the point here is, look at this, they have 18 attack. And generally people doesn't do this. You see, he put his upgrades a little bit in melee attack, a little bit in charge, a little bit in defense. So he kind of tries to get a cheap cavalry without clan upgrades in attack. But to be honest, I'm not sure if it's cost effective. Let's be honest, I'm sure it's not cost effective, because charge bonus is more or less random. So you're paying 50 koku to have, or maybe not have, an advantage in charge. It's completely random. So if you want cheap cavalry, you may go for 2 upgrades in attack, or maybe 2 upgrades in attack and 2 in defense. But charge, I wouldn't waste my money there. But that's my opinion. But not only my opinion, but it seems to be the general consensus. Now let's take a look at his infantry. He have much more infantry than Bane. 2 Red Bears, Yarikachi level 4 here, 19 melee defense. Nice. Okay, Yarikachi here with big defense as well. But this time he have 2 attack upgrades as well. Royal Marines, level 6, Red Bears, vanilla, Red Bears, vanilla, Red Bears, vanilla. And his gen, some mix between, well, it seems mostly Bushido. I wonder, I think Apollo have something hidden. So for Yariki, I think maybe he have revolver cavalry somewhere, from what I remember. And this is probably the main reason I wanted to show this replay. This is your typical infantry heavy against cavalry heavy situation, where cavalry heavy player isn't duck. So let's try to see. I will try to imagine duck on the place of Bane and see the mistake that could have costed Apollo the game. He will make such a mistake, but so far let's wait for it. Let's take a look at the dojos. Should we workshop here? SWAT dojo on the Bane side. Archery dojo, which were benefits Apollo. He got lucky with that, and farmhouse on this on left flank of Apollo. And now Bane tries to use his Shogun Guard cavalry to put a pressure on flank of Apollo, and then use his cavalry to get this force. So overall, this is typical stuff when you have cavalry heavy against infantry heavy. At the beginning of the game, a player with cavalry heavy build have a map control, because he can push in any direction with his cavalry and be there faster. So you see, for Apollo it's not that easy to move his line in, because whenever he spreads too far, he's putting himself in a very, very vulnerable position. And especially he doesn't want to push this direction, because Bane have a couple of units here. Now, this positioning, personally, I don't really like. When I have 150 range unit, I prefer to use it somewhere where I have more line of sight, kinda. And here, this ridge, if you think about it, it's a perfect position to defend with a low range line, or maybe even with melee unit. So your 150 can attack from a side where it have a line of sight and ability to shoot. But here, you can't move in, and your 150 range basically wasted. So for now, nothing happens, but except for this push. Now Apollo, seeing how difficult it is to attack on his right, decides to push on his left. He uses this Yarikachi and Redbeers to fend off Shogun Guard cavalry and this revolver cavalry of Bane. So now, let's see which direction Apollo will choose. Okay, so he tries to, at the same time, push in the middle, keep this side protected, and move in here. Now, this is already a mistake, and Apollo already put himself in a very vulnerable position. It's not that scary yet. Okay, he has revolver cavalry. The point is, first of all, even spreading, he cannot really stop Bane from flanking, and Bane can easily flank with all his cavalry around, and Apollo will have to send his cavalry back. But so he is not really protected in a sense. Other thing is, look at this ridge. Basically, this ridge splits forces of Apollo onto. So now Apollo have one contingent, second contingent, and they cannot really help each other. Now imagine an attack here. Bane's cavalry going all around on this forest, and one line unit of Bane moving here. Probably Apollo imagines something like this, because now he tries to move his 150 range Marines to put. Like I said, like I told, it's not easy for Apollo to move in here because of this ridge. So he tries to find himself a better place to shoot. Still not ideal positioning, but a bit further away. And now let's take a look at the map. Game is long, so I don't know why I'm actually stopping it. To me, to be honest, this already looks like a lost game for Apollo if this was more aggressive player. Bane play very cautiously here. Because what Bane have to do right now, or what more aggressive player would do in this situation, these Royal Marines, they already overextended to this side of a ridge. So all Bane have to do is to use this small ridge on the forest as a protection, put one line unit here, so that flanking on this direction would be impossible for Apollo. So just put a defensive line here, maybe Yarikachi, and then start switching two line units here while all cavalry move here and hit this flank. Because right now all Apollo have here is 3 relatively weak red bears, and maybe he will be able to get his cavalry back, but his cavalry is much weaker because of lack of attack upgrades. So this contingent, in my opinion, can be easily destroyed by Bane have 5 high-level melee cavalry with SWAT. He have SWAT dodger, and he will have some line support and 2 revolver cavalry. I mean, all you have to is to switch fast. You have to send your cavalry fast, because no matter how fast Apollo reacts, he will not. These units will not participate in this fight in any case. So the only thing he can do, probably move his Royal Marines. Or, if you don't want him to react at all, you can imitate cavalry attacks through this, through middle. He will have to back up. Or maybe he will just ignore this part of your movement. I mean, imagine, you want to get your cavalry completely on your left flank. If you send them around, your opponent will see it and will react. But you may do other stuff. You may send your cavalry and make it look like you planning to attack here. And when you come here, he didn't react. Probably he will read your movements wrong. If you, for example, send one cavalry from here, those from here, and then you will have smaller distance for attack. I know this may sound like a stupid blabbering, which it might be, but that's how I always think about the games when I have a time. How do I not make my plan obvious for my opponent? So, and personally, really, I believe at this point Bane wasting time. But on the other hand, he is making sure. It's still, all these movements of Apollo works on the favor of Bane. You see, the more mental focus Apollo puts on this flank, better for Bane, because in reality, Bane have no low mobility units here. He can easily get all his cavalry on other flank. So, once again, look at this from Bane's perspective. This is weakness you should see easily in any game. And if you have a mobile army and you see your opponent making such a mistake, don't waste too much time. If he consolidates his forces, if he puts them closer to each other, you will actually lose your chance. So while he's separated, go and attack. Now let's take a look at from Apollo's perspective. Now, this might look like a safe move, right? If you look at forces of your opponent, ignoring their possible movements, because there is not enough forces for Bane right here to destroy this. Not enough forces for Bane here to destroy this. But so Apollo basically don't take into consideration mobility of cavalry of Bane. And considering his upgrades on his Yariki, I'm not sure if he maybe he have to learn. Oh man, what a micro mistakes from both players. I mean, look how vulnerable these Black Tortoise forces of Bane. This is what I'm talking about. What I'm trying to say here is, you see, kind of Apollo putting himself in an even worse position, but it feels like Bane doesn't really see this. I don't understand. It's so obvious when you have a cavalry heavy composition. You have only one strength, mobility, which you have to use. Mobility and momentum. And now, finally, it's starting to happen. So, overextending his cavalry in this forest on Apollo spot, fast cavalry charge with support of line here. But still, in my opinion, this front is too wide. Still, Bane kinda uses this ridge well. These Royal Marines are out of the fight, even though they're very close. But overall, fighting here isn't necessary for Bane. I mean, if he put all his forces on this flank faster, his cavalry, he wouldn't be so depleted. I think he maybe, look at this, lost Black Tortoise force almost completely. Unnecessary losses on revolver cavalry. And you know why this happens? It might look like a huge micro mistakes on the Bane part, and they are. But in reality, they are not micro mistakes. How should I explain it? This happens with me quite a lot. It's decision mistakes. Now, I talked for like 10 minutes already about mistakes that Apollo did. And just because Bane didn't see this mistake so clearly, didn't know how to exploit this mistake so clearly, he was focused on his opponent movements. He was too focused on them, and that is why he didn't react to his cavalry have charge of Apollo. And when the fight started, Bane didn't have a clear plan, because it wasn't Bane who initiated this fight. And despite having initiative composition, cavalry heavy composition, Bane basically gave up initiative to Apollo. So overall, as a conclusion, I would say at the beginning, what Bane did was very cool. He spread his forces, making Apollo spread his own forces, which is a huge mistake. And now when a lot of units of Apollo were there, look, this forest Red Bears stays their ground well enough against this Red Bears, buying time, while cavalry, revolver cavalry, melee cavalry of Bane destroying this flank, collapsing it, killing general of Apollo, and finishing surrounding right now. So this game is basically ended. Now, let me iterate over this one more time. What Bane did wrong, in my opinion, is moment this ridge split forces of Apollo was the best moment for Bane to attack. He wasted too much time. He didn't have a clear plan in his mind, which is why he kind of screwed up engagement here. He allowed himself to be attacked. He allowed his revolver cavalry to be catched. Instead, how much better it would have been if Bane moved this one Black Tortoise force in with support of all of his cavalry, going around, starting this mess, getting his revolver cavalry from behind. I mean, it's so easy to do, and you will be the one controlling this fight. Not reacting, but controlling. Now, more importantly, if you like to bring infantry heavy builds and line heavy builds, what can you do as an Apollo in this situation? Because really, how do you catch cavalry of your opponent? The right answer is you cannot catch it. There is no way to do that. But you still can do very cool stuff, even with cavalry heavy build. Basically, what you want to do is not spread like Apollo did, because on such a big map with such a tricky terrain, this spread will force you to split your army on two at least, maybe even on three, like it happened here. But what you might do, which is I try to use lately when I see cavalry heavy composition, it's not necessarily would be working, but my idea is you want to put your forces in a 1 or 3 waves, like Taika did, for example, in his games against Prussian Prince, which he won in 2nd and 4th game and in 5th game. So you put a front, you put some spears on the sides that can easily help your forces on front and on the back. You take something on the back, and with this force, with revolver cavalry in the middle, not engaging anywhere, with your cavalry not engaging, you go and try to catch at least 1 unit of your opponent's infantry. He will have to run from you on all directions, which will allow you to, if you go right through his middle, he will have to take a fight. And in infantry fight, he doesn't have an advantage. He will have to charge you. He will have to take the fight. And when all your forces clumped together, well, if you use the right formation, you will be at advantage because he will have to charge your spears. And your cavalry would be able to countercharge his cavalry, his infantry. So you want to keep your forces together and not try to catch his cavalry, but go and try to split his infantry, because you have infantry advantage, right? And if he splits it, you can destroy his infantry one by one. And if he tries to keep his infantry together, well, you can first take dodges from him and then initiate attack, because you have more infantry to throw away than him. Well, it wouldn't be easy anyway, but that's how I see it. That's idea I try to test lately, because I don't want to believe that cavalry heavy play is the only aggressive play you can use, right? It would be boring. Good game. So it's, I would be honest with you, this isn't how should I put it? After watching finals and bronze matches and semifinals of Agony 1v1 tournament, not only this, any game looks so simplistic to me. I don't know why. I'm sorry for that. And I don't talk about this game specifically. I talk about my games against Psychic, for example. You can watch them on Prussian Prince channel. Any games I see, and this is why I didn't make any commentaries for you a week already. I just can't get myself pumped up to comment the games after finals of Agony 1v1 Championship, because those games were exciting, and this one is not so much exciting as interesting, in the sense of what happened, of what units they used, and what possibilities they have. I mean, Bane and Apollo. So as you can see, in the end, Apollo lost, in my opinion, because generally, if you split your infantry force against cavalry heavy build, you just bound to lose, even if your opponent plays imperfectly. So let's see, these red bears in the forest killed more than they lost, but they barely got cost effective, because they were killing other red bears, which cost almost 2 times less. So it's barely cost effective exchange. But at the same time, this Yariki revolver cavalry, you know, this is interesting. This revolver cavalry, despite being charged and losing 30 men at the beginning of the fight, they still got 121 kill, because of these flanking shots they managed to get in the end. Yarikachi white. Okay, so that's the game.